Dem Party blame game. Accusations fly as to who is responsible for Harris's massive loss to Trump. The Democratic blame game is at a fever pitch after Vice President Kamala Harris was swiftly defeated by President-elect Donald Trump at the ballot box in an election that had been anticipated to drag out for days as polling indicated the matchup was razor-thin. Trump sailed to victory in the early morning hours last Wednesday, after locking down key battlegrounds such as Pennsylvania and Georgia, and clearing 270 electoral votes. He concluded the race with 312 electoral votes to Harris's 226, and won the popular vote. In the final days of the campaigning cycle, polling indicated that the results for the election would likely be very close, which could have resulted in state recounts and lawsuits before the winner was announced. Following Trump's clear victory, Democrats across the nation issued statements accepting the results and congratulating the president. Fallout from the devastating loss, however, has reverberated across the party as members point fingers at each other for the Trump win. Harris, Biden campaigns pin blame on each other. The Harris campaign and Biden campaign have reportedly pinned blame for the loss on each other, Axios reported last week. The 107-day Harris campaign was nearly flawless. The Biden campaign that preceded it was the opposite, one Harris campaign member told the outlet. "We did what we could. I think the odds against us were insurmountable," another individual involved with the Harris campaign said. Referring to President Biden's exit from the presidential race in July and his low approval ratings, Biden dropped out of the race over the summer following his disastrous debate performance against Trump, where he frequently lost his train of thought and stumbled over his words. The debate opened the floodgates to both conservatives and traditional Democrat allies, calling on the president to pass the torch to a younger generation as concerns mounted surrounding his mental acuity and his age. Obama to blame? Other Democrats and insiders pointed to former President Barack Obama for the loss, after Obama reportedly worked in the background over the summer to encourage Biden's ouster from the race. A handful of Obama's allies and former advisors helped lead the charge in calling on Biden to drop out of the 2024 race earlier this summer, including former Obama advisor David Axelrod saying that Biden was not winning this race. Longtime Obama friend George Clooney calling on the president to drop out of the race in a bombshell op-ed. And Jon Favreau, who served as former director of speechwriting for Obama, also calling on Biden to drop out of the race ahead of his eventual departure. There is no singular reason why we lost, but a big reason is because the Obama advisors publicly encouraged Democratic infighting to push Joe Biden out, didn't even want Kamala Harris as the nominee, and then signed up as the saviors of the campaign, only to run outdated Obama-era playbooks for a candidate that wasn't Obama, one former Biden staffer told Politico. DNC National Finance Committee member and Harris campaign fundraiser Lindy Lee told Fox News this weekend that Obama's seemingly delayed endorsement of Harris after Biden dropped out added to Harris's defeat. "I want to point out they waited 3 days. Michelle and Barack Obama waited 3 days to endorse Kamala Harris," Lee said on Fox and Friends Weekend on Saturday. "It was the silence heard round the world. The truth is, this is just an epic disaster. This is a $1 billion disaster," Lee added during the interview.
Who's in the frame to join Trump's new top team? Donald Trump made the first official hire of his incoming administration, announcing 2024 campaign co-chair Susan Summerall Wiles as his chief of staff. The president-elect's transition team is already vetting a series of candidates ahead of his return to the White House on January 20, 2025. Many who served under Trump in his first term do not plan to return, though a handful of loyalists are rumored by U.S. media to be making a comeback. The 78-year-old Republican is also surrounded by new allies who could fill his cabinet, staff his White House and take up other key roles across government. Here is a closer look at names in the mix for the top jobs. Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. Susie Wiles and campaign co-chair Chris LaCivita were the masterminds behind Trump's landslide victory over Kamala Harris. In his victory speech on Wednesday, he called her the Ice Maiden, a reference to her composure, and claimed she likes to stay in the background. Wiles was confirmed the next day as the first appointee of his second term as his White House chief of staff. She will be the first woman ever to hold that job. Chief of Staff is often a president's top aide, overseeing daily operations in the West Wing and managing the boss's staff. Wiles, 67, has worked in Republican politics for decades, from Ronald Reagan's successful 1980 presidential campaign to turning businessman Rick Scott into Florida's governor in just 7 months back in 2010. Republicans have said she commands respect and has an ability to corral the big egos of those in Trump's orbit, which could enable her to impose a sense of order that none of his 4 previous chiefs of staff could. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. RFK Jr., as he is known, is an environmental lawyer by trade, a vaccine skeptic by fame, and the nephew of former President John F. Kennedy. His troubling past makes it unlikely he could secure the security clearance needed for a cabinet post, but after leading a Trump campaign initiative called Make America Healthy Again, he is expected to become a kind of public health czar. Despite having no medical qualifications to his name, Kennedy, 70, could potentially influence the Health and Human Services Department, the Agriculture Department, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC), and the Food and Drug Safety Administration (FDA). Elon Musk, the world's richest man, poured millions of dollars into re-electing Trump, and critics fear he will now have the power to weaken or entirely shape the regulations that impact his companies, Tesla, SpaceX, and X. Both he and Trump have focused on the idea of him leading a new Department of Government Efficiency, where he would cut costs and streamline what he calls a massive, suffocating federal bureaucracy. The would-be agency's acronym Doge is a playful reference to a meme coin cryptocurrency Musk has previously promoted. But Musk, 53, could also play a role in global diplomacy. He participated in Trump's first call with Ukraine's Zelensky on Wednesday. Vance refers to Harris as trash while speaking in Atlanta, Ohio. Sen. J.D. Vance, Trump's running mate, has referred to Kamala Harris as trash. Speaking Monday in Atlanta, Vance ripped Harris by referencing a comment made by President Joe Biden suggesting that Trump supporters were garbage. Biden, in turn, was responding to a joke by comic Tony Hinchcliffe at Trump's recent Madison Square Garden rally, in which Hinchcliffe likened Puerto Rico to a floating island of garbage. The Trump campaign has faced days of criticism from Harris allies over Hinchcliffe's joke. It has focused on Biden's reference to Trump supporters instead. Vance told the Atlanta audience that Americans should not be called garbage for supporting border restrictions or wanting to be able to afford groceries. In 2 days we are going to take out the trash in Washington, D.C., and the trash's name is Kamala Harris, he said. The comment stirred anger among Harris allies online. LeVar Stoney, the mayor of Richmond, Virginia, said Vance had made one of the worst mistakes of his political career. More than 81